have you guys been saving up? Cause from this point onward, our resources are gonna start to burn out. Maybe it already has for some of you guys with Roll and Impressia, but those who haven't, the Slayers collab is here. And believe it or not, it is yet another insane crossover due to one of the characters like how it was with Jintoki. We're getting 3 characters as always, but the one that I'm mainly referring to is Lina. She's the character that everybody's gonna be getting, and will be the only character that you want to care about. She's a magic attacker that's part of the protagonist, Dark, and Time faction, which already sounds horrible. Her talent though, it increases her range and damage dealt. After taking action or after any ally is attacked, she has the chance to get Rage that increases her mobility by 2, and her next active attack increases her crit rate by 100%. When an ally dies, she gets Rage that lasts for 3 turns, can't be dispelled, and is removed after attacking. So simple, yet that's not the only crazy thing that she has, especially when you take a look at her skill set. But first, we're gonna go over her unique skills, and they are quite ridiculous. Her 1C is a passive that steals a buff when dealing damage to the enemy. When forced into battle, if the enemy is an assassin, then she attacks first and steals 2 buffs before battle. That is pretty broken. I don't know about you guys on that one, but she is literally going to be countering all those assassins, like Lostam. But the special thing about him, his 3C can stun before battle, so he's really the only assassin that can do it. And remember that she's going to always be hitting very hard at all times, except for some like Epsilon and Diehard. Even though they play like assassins, their class type are not. Her other unique skill is a very strong AoE that does more damage against dragons, and will do more the closer the enemy are towards their target space. If she's in Rage, the skill range increases and applies a special terrain for 2 turns that gives a debuff. I know it doing more to dragons seems weird, but I've heard that we are gonna get more of them, and they are gonna be pretty common. But yeah, good reach on this plus the skill span. She does have access to Arcane Blast, which does more damage against Mage and Holy, and you know how really common seeing Holy units are. If not, then you'll be using her unique skill, since it will be her hardest hitting AoE. The passive on her 3C causes the enemy to be more likely to be crit by 10%, and if in Rage, it doubles. It's a single target that does more damage to demons. Before battle, disables armor and helmet, but in regular content, it reduces defense and magic defense for 2 turns. If in Rage, it's not affected by melee penalty and increases crit damage the closer she is to the target up to 60%. Man, they really gave this character more crit damage, only on a 3C, but she can guarantee crits most of the time. And if you really think about it, she technically has 110% increased crit rate, if not 120% if in Rage, due to her 3C passive. She has some really good skill set like Dark Reaper, Black Hole, Arcane Blast, and even Mass Attack. But the thing about it is that you would be better off bringing another attack, since she can already do lots of damage and take advantage of her talent. But maybe you would bring Mass Attack if you really need the buff on all of your team. I don't think much needs to be said any further. She's a very simple magic attacker with good reach, insane damage potential that has flexible attack style. Definitely the star character in this update that you all really want. Lina's banner mate is Zelgadis, really overshadowed by her. Not to say that he's a bad character, just that he's an interesting one. He's a magic attacker that's part of the strategy, mythical, and time faction. His talent increases damage dealt and defense the higher his HP is. After taking action, he can choose an ally to apply a cleansing array that dispels 3 debuffs, and for each debuff dispelled, they are healed by 10% HP each time. He can also apply a random buff, immunity to stun, unbuffable, and mobility down for 2 turns, which has a cooldown. Those are some good immunities, plus being able to heal on top of that while dispelling a good amount of debuffs, and can use this pretty often, so it's really good. His 1C gives attack an int and isn't affected by melee penalty for 2 turns. Then he can move 2 blocks to attack, and buffs do not lose their turn duration. That cooldown does suck, but a character who can buff themselves is very valuable. The other buff that he gets is quite strange, like who in the world came up with that? The 2C that he has is a single target that disables passive skill before battle and isn't affected by melee penalties, and his soldiers can attack with them. He has another 2C that reduces attack and int before battle for 2 turns that cannot be dispelled. Soldiers can attack. When using this skill with no debuffs, the cooldown is reduced by 2 on this skill with no melee penalties. His 3C has a passive where he takes less damage by 10% when fighting enemies with lower int than him. If he does not have any debuffs, then it's 20% instead. This thing is a single target skill that does more damage to demons. Melee soldiers can attack with them. If he has no debuffs, he dispels 5 debuffs and heals to full before battle. If his int is 3 times higher than the enemy, then he attacks directly to the hero. So yeah, you definitely want quite the investment for that to happen. We see more physical attackers compared to magic attackers, so in PvP, you'll get that more often than not, but it'll be pretty difficult for Zelgadis to do like literally anything. He's a support DPS. His talent is the only source for that support role, well, at least his main, cause he does have mass protect, but you're not gonna run it. He can also flex between single target and AoE, however they are on the weaker side compared to Lina. Only a few things on this guy that makes him pretty interesting. His talent, 1C, then his 3C, which is something that he really wants for the damage reduction. The thing about him is that you really want to take care of this guy. Like, you really want to eyeball what he has, since he hates having debuffs. And if he doesn't have any, then you're gonna get the most value out of him, which isn't that bad due to his talent. Also, he doesn't have any long range, so that's a huge negative. The third and last character is Gourry. A freebie that you can get by farming the collab event. You should really consider getting him because he's a very solid character. A physical attacker that's part of the protagonist, Glory and Time faction. His talent, for each buff that he has, attack and defense goes up and gets additional effects based on how many that he has. If he has 5 buffs, when using a skill to deal damage, the cooldown is reduced by 2. At 8 buffs, he can attack first, then with 10, when in battle, he can revive. The fact that his attack and defense can go even more than 30% is insane. But even getting up to 8 buffs is something that you don't get to do often, especially even up to 10. He has a good 1C that gives him 1 extra mobility and heals 15% of his HP after battle. His 2C, before battle, for every attribute on the enemy that's higher, damage increases, then after battle, each of those is reduced by 10% and increases its own as well. So excluding HP, this skill should reach a total of 50% damage increase in total. You're able to reduce certain stats that's higher it seems, so it's nice to use. Finally, with this 3C, he does more damage to demon. Really lame that's the only thing that he gets. It's a single target that does more damage for each buffs on him. Soldiers can attack with them. After using the skill, his buff duration does not go down, which is pretty nice. This guy is all about having buffs, so having them last a bit longer will be incredibly useful. You can literally say that about all characters, but this guy wants all of them for him to maximize his potential. He has no real way to give himself any, so he really depends on his teammate. Like I said, getting up to 8 buffs is something that you don't do often. He's still going to be a very solid character that anybody can use. You're most likely going to get up to 5, which is good enough because that means he can spam his skill quite often. Factions are great for regular content, with good skill sets, for a free character. Even his base stats are really good. So, the exclusive that we got here are quite amazing. And we got one interesting one that you guys will be surprised about if you haven't already seen it. So this one for Joa&Connie, it's a helmet. If Joa is within 3 blocks, then Connie does more damage. When Joa uses channel interference, he gets a command effect where enemies within 2 blocks cannot be guarded when attacked by Connie for 2 turns. The thing about them is that they have a combo that they can do where Joa can lower, let's say, a tank mobility with one of his skill, so it makes them unable to guard. Then Connie can sneak in to snipe out an enemy. But since there are many ways to avoid mobility down, this makes that potential better since Joa now has a secondary option to pull off that combo. The other one goes to one of the worst characters in Langrisser history, Amadeus. They actually made him better. It's a weapon, so that's a huge dub. More attack and defense. For each stack of his talent, his damage increases by 5%. When above 40 HP, he can revive and gets 4 talent stacks that can trigger twice in battle. It's pretty funny that he got his exclusive so fast. We all know how bad this character was. Even his long games knew that, so they quickly wrapped up this one. And it's actually a massive buff. He's able to deal a bit more damage and has a better survival rate. But for him to approach and his range are still horrible, so I doubt that anyone will start using him, even with Amadeus being a bit more usable. But hey, maybe some of you guys might be the ones to put him out there, so good luck with that. You might need it. Just like with the equips, there are going to be some good casting skills. First up is Towa, more attack and defense when using tactical guidance. As long as she has a faction buff effect, she can copy 2 undispellable buff, so meaning that she can get something quite interesting, maybe even unique buffs as well. So there's a lot of potential to be seen with Towa. This is going to be really annoying because she really wants that faction buff. Second is Azusa, that increases magic damage with hard and physical damage with soft. Not a bad idea to get it if you like using her, more damage potential is always great. Third we got is Mariandel, that allows more skill damage. If she consumes 3 of her talent stacks, reduces that skill by 1. Getting her talent stacks is so easy to pull off, so you'll be activating this almost all the time. Really convenient to have. The last one is for Chloe, one of my favorite healers, believe it or not, especially back in the day. And when the passive on her 3C is triggered, applies 1 buff. I would say it's alright, and that's because the positioning to activate her 3C passive can be a bit weird. Some of the interesting banners that we're going to be getting is a raid for Mariandel, a fantastic damage dealer who can provide tons of healing. There's no other character that does her job any better, which will appear on the 2nd week, so next week after the update. Then there's going to be a Destiny banner on the 3rd week that has Christian, one of the best tank that does exceptionally well against magic attacks. She can still tank everything well and can provide a faction buff for the princess team. You only get that if you get her 3C, so be mindful of that. But you are going to be better off saving for the upcoming months, unless you really need them or just want them. With all of the content that we should be getting, the collab farmable event where you can get Gourry in up to 5 stars. You're just going to be farming points, so it's very simple. There's more story chapters, this PvP event that's called Skyline Tactics. I don't really enjoy these stuff, but maybe you guys do. A login event, all the Anarchy stages will be unlocked for a week. When the update drops, it might even apply to the casting stage, but it could be different for global. Same case with the increased output rate for the materials in the floating city. Then to end things off are the skins. The Echo of Light for Lina and Gourry, it's a wedding theme. They really know how to make them nice. Now if they could get one for Angelina, Long Games, if you're watching this, might be an idea that you guys could maybe do, you know. The sports themed skins are making a rerun. Normally I don't ever mention them because they're sometimes different for global. Even when they do confirm them, I never really talk about it, but maybe I'll start doing that if I know for sure that we're going to be getting them. Oh look, speaking of Angelina, look, there she is. Then lastly, a Martial Lotto skin for McLean. It's another Halloween theme, like with the recent one before 8 on Kelmo. There you guys have it. That was about everything, if not most of everything that should be coming in this Slayers collab update. Your guys' plan should be getting Lina, then stopping right there, especially if you're free to play. Lina you definitely want at 5 stars for maximum range, but just farm her Gated Fate, cause you really want to save as much resources as you can, like I've always been saying. If you haven't gotten Roland and Pressure by now, you might want to consider grabbing them, because they are bond blockers for the future characters that we'll be getting, and some of them are really good. I haven't seen what those characters are or what they do yet, but people were telling me that, and I've seen other people say that they are crazy strong. So yeah, we are going to be packed going forward from here on out. If you guys want to know what my plans are, I'm going to be pulling for both characters. It's something that I like to try and do with collabs, since they may or may never come back. And as usual, I'll make videos on those characters. I will always say this though, you guys should do whatever you feel like. You don't have to listen to me and just play on your own terms. But if you really want to get caught up and make sure you're not missing anything or being left behind, you guys should take my advice if you want to keep up with everyone else. So try your best to get Lina. It'll be a missed opportunity if you don't, considering how OP she is. But I'm gonna call it right there. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and feel free to let me know down in the comments what your guys' plans are and if there is anything else that you're looking forward to in this update. And so yeah, thanks for watching. Your fellow Z.